later. I don't even have anything interesting.
Is it soup again?
No. Hey, you got a problem with that? We found equal footing on soup. It took a little bit, but in spite of your very obvious anti-soup bent, we found a way. I wanted us not to emphasize our differences, but to seek the common ground as a community, Kyle.
I think that's fair.
So what are you doing now with this soup nuts stuff, huh?
I am giving our listeners a teaser, if you will, of what they can expect if they listen to our other podcast. Even though we haven't introduced this podcast yet, so maybe that was a mistake. Maybe
no, because my name is Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
And this is the Big Bang Theory, a podcast where we watch the television show, The Big Bang Theory, and we kind of do everything we can not to talk about it, but we eventually get there and talk about other things we actually enjoy and are interested in along the way. And I always forget to put this plug in here, even though we have another additional subscriber. And I think I have to start doing that thing where I do the Patreon shoutouts because people really love the Patreon shoutouts and I like saying anonymous names into the ether. But if you want to hear more about Kyle's soup position, here's a little preview. Is we do these bonus episodes and I want to talk about soup because it's soup weather. And I ask Kyle what kind of soup he wants. And boy, did he ever not want to talk about his soup feelings. And it was a shock. And if you want to experience that, you can find that and all sorts of other delightful things at our Patreon, which is patreon.com/TBBTT. That's the Big Bang Theory. So patreon.com/TBBTT. And then I won't have to plug this later and we can talk about whatever else we're going to talk about today, the stupid episode, I guess. Man. Kyle, how do you feel about chili? Not even as a soup person.
Oh, same way about soup, which is, well, that's not fair. I have had some chili I've really liked, but I just, even though culturally I come from a place where chili is really big, I just know so little about how to make it. And I've so rarely had chili that was like life-changing. But every now and then I've had some good chili. And I was like, maybe I should get more into this. But also, I worry because there are some people who are like, well, chili is my whole personality now. And I feel like that could be me if I'm not careful. So it's actually the opposite of soup, where I just am not that interested in it. In chili, I feel the dark allure and I have to stay away.
Yeah, I have no chili problems. I made chili and it turned out well. So that's great. But every time I have chili, I'm like, that's where I think you said soup is an oddity in that it's riding a real weird line between meal and beverage. And I feel that way about chili, but on the other end of that spectrum where I'm like, you could be a hamburger or there's so much stuff in here and it's so thick. You could be a solid food, but you're not. Instead, you're this thick, weird thing I got to navigate and is always kind of a little too savory. I don't know. It's too meaty. We don't have to go into this any further.
Okay, so you and I are on the opposite. There's some kind of spectrum between soup and chili that's like an alignment chart where I am aligned towards chili and you're aligned towards soup.
Well, here's another thing. As long as we're talking about spectrums and alignments, I am now, I don't know if it's not a paperwork, but I have been, my neurodivergence is diagnosed by a professional at this point. And the results are definitely ADHD and also some autism traits that have a lot of crossover with ADHD that make it a little ambiguous as to which parts of my behavior are tied to which of those categories, but ADHD does rise above. So I'm going back in comedy to doing my bit about being a daywalker. I think that was it. That was like, oh, you have all these things about autism. You're better in social situations. And I'm like, but I still hate them. This is not great. And boy, that's like the most unsatisfying, like, revelation I've ever felt. That was like just such a soft confirmation of I know it's something. So that's put to bed, and it's unsatisfying, Kyle.
I'm sorry to hear. Well, I have some good news for you, which is, did you know that once you have an official diagnosis of neurodivergence, you can get a free lifetime pass to any and all national parks in the United States. So you should get on that.
Maybe I should go back to, or I can go to literally any national park other than the two I have visited. But if I were to go back to Yellowstone and not do what I did the only time I've been there, which was almost 20 years ago now, which was go with a few friends and the intent to kind of have some good party drinking times over a few nights, and then drinking all the alcohol the first night and having a miserable couple of days afterwards. So I have to right that wrong and go see Old Faithful or whatever, and the big hot microbe pools that you're not allowed to get into because they're hot and full of microbes. God damn, Kyle, I really don't want to talk about this episode.
Yeah, I can feel it. Let's just rip the Band-Aid, shall we?
Yeah.
If it helps, I can give the summary.
Yeah, well, let me give the official information, and then you can start summary. So, Kyle very graciously taking this one over, but to put it on the record, dear listeners, today we are discussing the first episode of the 10th season of the American comedy television sitcom, The Big Bang Theory, and I'm not even going to read the wiki summary here. I want to. Oh, but the official title is The Conjugal Conjecture. Now, Kyle, please, a summary, if you will.
Okay, so this one is actually what you said last time, I just want to point out, you actually wanted, which was a direct sequel to the plot of the previous episode. So if you didn't like this one, consider it a case of the monkey's paw curling and coming back to bite you, because in this one it takes place literally the day after the season finale, which I will remind listeners who are inexplicably invested in this in the
season
continuity.
10's where it gets good.
Yeah. So in the last episode, Penny and Leonard are having a second wedding, not actually a legal wedding, but a second ceremony, I guess I should say, and they've invited both their families into town, and Leonard's parents and Sheldon's mom got there first. Leonard's parents are acrimoniously divorced. Divorce being the only time I know that you how to use acrimonious correctly in a sentence. Yeah. They do not get along, and they spend the whole episode sniping somewhat delightfully at each other. And then Sheldon's mom shows up, and she has some tension with Leonard's mom, but some sexual tension with Leonard's dad. And so they're flirting the whole episode, and then at the end of the episode, they leave dinner together. And so the question that has been plaguing Sheldon and Leonard is, did our parents fuck? Are we going to be stepbrothers now? And so that's where the episode starts. And it turns out they did nothing except maybe commit to seeing each other in some on some future dates. Who knows? So that nothing interesting happens there, except now Leonard's mom is feeling especially awkward and vulnerable, which is interesting to see that side of her. But they kind of try, so they have some arguments and hijinks around that, and then they just sort of like, fuck it, let's all go to the wedding, and they have a ceremony, and I guess it's sweet. My favorite part of that was Bernadette is the officiant, and she is ruthless and runs a tight ship, which is nice. And then so that's the A plot. And I forgot the other part of, so Penny's family has arrived, and they're just a delightful coterie of rejects from like the Roseanne adjacent universe, I guess. Yeah,
they're very even self-referential white trash.
Yes, you got father who's a happy, I won't say he's an alcoholic. He just drinks a lot of beer, and it's hard to tell with, men who drink a lot of beer. But just the beer pounding, happy-go-lucky dad, the anxious about appearances mother, and the brother played, exactly as you would expect him to play it, which was a little weird because when I heard Penny had a brother who had been arrested for methamphetamine production and dealing, I thought they would go in a different direction, but the direction they chose to go in was they cast the guy who is Kenneth on 30 Rock. I don't
Jack
know the
McBrayer.
actual. Yeah, they cast Jack McBrayer, and he plays it like Jack McBrayer, which is like, yes, I am an affable, polite young man. There is this teeny tiny little issue. I'm almost embarrassed to bring it up, where I was caught, making meth, and I went to prison for several years because of it. But we don't have to talk about it unless you want to talk about it, and that's his whole character arc in the episode. And then so that's the A plot, and then the B plot. Is also a continuation. Wolowitz is freaking out because the Air Force has contacted him about his new invention, which bears repeating again, was actually, and I remembered now watching this one, legally belongs to Leonard and Sheldon because they hold the patent between the two of them with the university. So Wolowitz has no legal claim over this device other than being the person who tested and made it work, and they promised they would cut him in on it. But now for some reason the Air Force is showing up at his door, literally in the form of the guy who was Walter White's brother on Breaking
Uncle
Bad.
Hank, a.k.a. Dean Norris.
Yes. Only now he plays a very believable Air Force colonel. Frankly, for half a second, I thought he was the guy from Twin Peaks and they were doing a weird Twin Peaks reference.
That would be incredible.
I think that would have been way below that guy's pay grade, but would have been a much better, although Dean Norris does a perfectly serviceable job with his character. In that he only says 2 lines the whole episode, is Wolowitz here? And Raj, who answers the door nervously, is like, may I ask what this is about? And he's like, no, you may not. So
it's
at that
pretty good
point,
bit.
Yeah, so that's literally his whole appearance, and he gives Wolowitz his card. So Wolowitz is, at some future date, going to meet with the Air Force to talk about this invention. Which I guess is setting up his season. So we have a seasonal arc now for Wolowitz, something we definitely wanted. So yeah, I think that's anything you would like to add to my summary, Nick?
I don't think so. I mean, you kept talking about the B plot, and I just felt so tapped out. I was like, does this one even have plot structure? It's just a bunch of people. And you're right. It's just as soon as you started mentioning B-plot, I was like, God, things did happen in this one, didn't they? Well, in here is maybe the silliest criticism I have of the episode, but it is my main criticism, is that this does not at all feel to me like it should be the first episode of a season. That it is a direct sequel, and that I did get what I wished for. I think the monkey's paw part of it is that, this should have been how the last season ended. Because, so we got what we need for Wolowitz to move forward. That's great. But, all the family showing up, they're not going to come back. They don't have plots. Those are the people you bring in as, the fun guests to close it out. There's nothing that Leonard and Penny are up to. There's nothing that Sheldon and Amy are up to. And, yeah, the thing Wolowitz is doing, is, I think, ending on his decision to, even if sheepishly, decide to cooperate with the Air Force, and then seeing where that goes, I think would be way more sense to end on than, having that anxiety, and then in the next episode being like, oh God, I guess we're really doing it now. I wish that weren't such a big issue for me, but it really is. It was just okay, well, great. I'm glad you finished the last episode, but now what the fuck is this next year going to be about? There. That's my main beef. How do you feel?
I feel like that part of it is easily explained by some arcane reasoning about network ratings. And you want to end your season on a cliffhanger, and you want to begin your season with a big episode that everyone's going to watch. Does every show do that? Certainly not, but it seems like some shows that are really into gaming their ratings do that. So it's not it's not surprising to me. I am a little disappointed that none of the plots they set up in the finale actually went anywhere interesting in this first episode. But again, like you said, that does make sense. Of course, you're going to mostly pick up with like a soft reset. But yeah, I guess it is weird. Weddings generally do feel like finale, like season finale things. Like it's weird to begin an episode with a wedding, even if it's not the official wedding and it's just the wedding. Well, I guess my guess is oh my God, Sheldon. If Sheldon and Amy ever get married, that's not going to be the first episode of the season. That's going to be the last episode of the season.
Yeah, the wedding thing doesn't make sense to me as either ender or beginning, because like the fact that they get, they have the second ceremony comes up so late in the last season, and it's just like almost like a gag, like, well, I guess we got to appease the families, and then it turns into a substantive plot thing. But then, what they get through it in one episode, and the people who were married are still married, and the parents who didn't like each other still don't. There's some sort of connection now between totally new character Leonard's dad and classic Sheldon's mom. I don't know. I feel like I understand what you're saying about they need something, strong to start on. I'm not saying that they should subvert how network television works. But I'm saying that this isn't something strong to start on. This is...
Yeah, well, maybe it felt strong for them. They brought in literally there is like one extra character for every character in the main cast in this one. So, which also must have been expensive. So it's just like, I imagine the budget of the show went up over time, but it's just like, as my little bit of TV production experience tells me that it must have cost them a fortune to start the season with all of these people appearing in this one. So I do wonder, like, what's the deal with that? Like, do they really think they got enough bang for their buck on that one?
I don't know. I'm gonna make another gamble here, and I'm going to bet that whatever happens in this next episode, it is going to feel like more of a fresh start than whatever this was. I mean, to the extent we're talking about weird network manipulations, I feel like there's some sort of reason that they chose to divide a 2-part episode between 2 seasons rather than to finish it on that complete note and then have it reset in the next. It just feels so weird to me. I've never had this complaint about any other, I don't know, season-based television, and I smell bullshit. I smell shenanigans. But to be more positive, even though Jack McBrayer does what he always does, he's great at it. And I like that Penny's family all are like, except her mom, like, yeah, we're white trash. It's cool. I drink a lot. He used to sell meth, but we're all in the up and up. Get over it, Mom.
Yeah. One of the best jokes I think there is he's pretty normal the whole episode, but then as they're driving back to the airport, he's like, "Oh shit, the cops! Everybody be cool."
Yeah, that was your ultimate joke. That was the final little button on everything. And again, as the show has shown it can successfully do, it really banks on guest stars carrying all the weight. So even like, we haven't even mentioned Katie Seagal is in this yet as Penny's mom, or maybe you did, and we just like...
I didn't know her name. I couldn't I was sure I'd seen her in other things. I was like, oh yeah, that's a veteran comedy actress, but I can't remember from what.
Well, I think about it now, like, not just comedy actress, but she is like professional TV mom. That's like... And...
Oh, that's right. She was in... was she the mom in the other Kaylee Cuoco show? Is this like a callback to that?
I don't know. I know that other show exists.
The 10 Things I Hate About You show?
Oh, I think... Gosh, I don't know what any of this is. Because then I think there's also a show that's just called Mom, and I'm like, is she in that?
No, I think Mom is Allison Janney.
Okay, that is correct. I don't know about the 10... But also, I mean, she's, I think, Mama Boss in show that I haven't seen, which was Sons of Anarchy.
And yes, of course.
I think her most famous earlier work was as mom in why can I not Married with Children? Was that actually the name of it? Yeah. Where the whole joke throughout the whole series was patriarch Ed Bundy is like, God, I have to have sex with my wife. Blah. And to everyone on Earth who is watching the show, they're like, what's your fucking problem, man? I mean, we're going to put up with this as part, but check her out. She wants to bang all the time, and you're just like, I'm a put-upon shoe salesman. Bah.
What show was this?
Married with Children.
Oh, yeah. She was in that?
She's one of, like, it's all about that family, and she is the number 2. She is, second up to Ed O'Neill is the main dad character.
Oh, she was the wife of Ed O'Neill. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, is that she looks so much younger than he does? I mean, she probably is actually. Now that you mention it, but what's her name again?
Oh, now I'm blanking on it. Katie Sagal. Yeah, that makes me wonder how old she was then, because the episode we just saw would have come out about 10 years ago, and she's looking like 50. Well, I guess she would have had to be in her 30s, because I think Married with Children started like mid-80s.
Okay, so this is probably related to that as well. It's just, I remember her on that show, but she had the big hair, so I did not recognize her without the giant 80s hair. That being said, I do think this is specifically a callback to, I said 10 things, it wasn't 10, that was also a TV show based on a movie, but there was a show called 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. I remember it because it was the final TV series that John Ritter was on, and he died at the end of the first season, which radically changed the tone of the show for the very brief seasons that it went forward. Anyway, Katie Sagal was the mom in that, married to John Ritter's character, and her daughter was Kaylee Cuoco in the show, Kaylee Cuoco's network TV debut. So Kaylee
I was excited about Katie
sitcom...
Sagal. Now hearing all this, and I feel sad. There's so much intermingling century
It was
over
basically
centuries.
her sitcom mom returning to play her sitcom mom.
Well, that's the thing, is I think that's, like, when I say she's professional mom, like, that's, she's typecast, but she's... Anyway, all of this is to say, she didn't do shit in this episode.
She mostly just ran around being... You're right. For someone who obviously has major comedic chops, she just had a couple of lines. She gets totally, overshadowed by the dad and the brother, because her job is basically to be the straight man to both of them being slightly ridiculous.
Yeah, no, they're... Yeah, because they're both very open and happy with all of their own foibles, such as the, getting out of prison after cooking some meth. And yeah, Katie Sagal's whole thing is like, no, we can't talk about any of this. This they need to think we're good people. And she doesn't even have any comedic resolution there. It's the dad and brother, are both just totally happy being who they are, and that's how it is until the end of the episode when, brother Jack McBrayer is hiding out when the cops come by. So, yeah, I don't know. And I don't know if I have anything else about this one. It's fine. It feels out of place to me. And yeah, again, everyone is more interesting than the main cast. I think Sheldon is the only one that deserves, well, maybe Sheldon and Penny deserve their paychecks, but that's it. Any other thoughts on this?
No. All
right, that's good. Let's move on. This was a struggle. And again, it's one of those where it's like, well, it's not bad. It's just such a meh episode. Kyle, I have a thing I want to recommend.
Way to start out the season. I guess that's what I'll say. Way to kick off our 10th year of doing this.
Well, that's something I'm thinking about is so many TV shows have the point where they clearly go off the rails. And I feel like that happens just a few years in. And so we must be so far beyond that. And yet I feel like I'm so mired in it. And we've been doing it so consistently for so long. I can't even think about when the drop off would be.
Well,
because I can't think of a high point.
That's exactly what I was going. Usually, when a show goes off the rails, that's in comparison to some golden age of the show. Usually around season like 2 and 3, like you get like. I mean, it's almost like a law. It's like season 2 and the first half of season 3 are usually the best seasons of any particular long-running sitcom. And then after that, it's just all downhill. But you can always look back to those and be like, they really hit it. There are, I think, counterexamples in long run. Like, It's Always Sunny. But this show, it never had any, like, where's the high point? Where's the golden age of the Big Bang Theory that you can point back to and be like, now that was an incredible string of episodes. An incredible run of just back-breaking classics.
Well, and especially... So, this isn't arbitrary, I guess. This is not based on quality. But if I had to put, like, where the series is supposed to wrap up, it's probably when Leonard and Penny got married. Because that was, originally the whole premise of the show was, like, can you imagine a nerd with a blah, 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 babe? And for however many years now, it's like, well, everyone on the show can. So, in matter of fact, it looks like all these nerds, well, I guess they're not getting paired up with True-dish blah, babes. At least not that the show wants us to believe. Yeah, God, we're just skeletons, walking skeletons is what we're doing with this goddamn thing.
We're the undead.
Okay, let's
you want to do a podcast about The Walking Dead after this? That's the only. There's a show that's also long running, and
I can't imagine something less palatable. That's I remember reading that comic when it was coming out and really loving it. I never finished it. I think I got a bit into whatever arc. What is his name? Nagel, the governor?
Negan. Well, no, the governor and Negan are two different characters.
Oh, well, one or the other.
They're big bads of different arcs of the show.
Maybe I didn't get to Negan in the comics then, because the governor I remember.
Yeah, the governor is so much worse. Oh, okay. Anyway, without getting into it, I will just... I am suddenly realizing I have so many more opinions about The Walking Dead than I realized, but only about the comic book, not about the TV show in the slightest.
Well, my only opinion on the TV show is I was excited to watch the first season and went, God, that was lame, and moved on. And now, again, like almost 15 years after that, they're still trying to get whatever they can out of that fucking franchise. Oh. Okay, things we actually enjoy. Positivity time. Feeling good time. Ah, shit. So, I almost feel like I should recommend two, just because I have so little to say. Not in it because there's not great things to say about it, because I don't want to say a lot, which is, I think I'm very late to the party here, but I recently started watching Smiling Friends, and very quickly had finished what is available of Smiling Friends, because it is great. Kyle, have you seen the show Smiling Friends?
Only through, like, TikTok clips, which do make it seem like pretty, unconventional, but pretty consistently very funny.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. I think I was avoiding it because I was worried it would have, like, too much of the kind of Rick and Morty DNA, which is, like, I'm not going to say that Rick and Morty is a bad show. It's great. But,
although it's safer to do that now than it was 5 to 10 years ago. Its power is really waned.
Well, that's the thing, is that, like,
Waned?
Well, it's because, like, it got wrapped up in this, like, weird, shitty, obnoxious nerd identity of the always right asshole being a hero, and that's not the show's fault, that's the world's fault. But then Smiling Friends looks like they had so much in common, and I was like, I don't need more of that. But no, totally different vibes. And the whole premise of Smiling Friends is incredibly simple, which is your small cast of characters, 2 primaries, and all your supports, which are still small, are the Smiling Friends, and they work in an office that is a big smiley face building, and their job is to make people smile. And so if anyone is ever having a really hard time, needs to get through something, you hire Pim and Charlie, and they come by and figure out a way to brighten up your day. But of course, it's all insane. And I don't know, it's like something I like about it, and I don't know where the line is, but sometimes I think you can watch, and this is another reason I think I avoided it, is worrying that I'm going to get humor that's like just intentionally trying to be like edgy or obnoxious or just like weird for its own sake. And I didn't feel like that for a second. This is whatever the vibe is of the show is 100% my thing. And yeah, the episodes are 10 minutes. There's 3 seasons, I think 8 episodes each. So it's pretty hard to get too much of either. Like that's, as brief of a journey as it is, I'd rather have that than feel like there's just a bunch of garbage filler. So Smiling Friends, hard recommend. Very funny show. If you like us at all, you'll probably like it, because I was like, if that's the kind of humor that's not for you, then I'm like, oh, then we're probably not for you either. But
yeah, well, that's comparing us to a show that popular is really bold of you. But I
was going to say, like, well, maybe if you don't like weird, freaky animation, maybe if you don't like things that look nice, maybe being a little not so nice. And then I thought, I don't need to address that person. That's the commonality we have.
Fair enough. I will say the only thing I really know famously about the production of Smiling Friends is that it's all very improvisational, in that, a lot of TV shows are, but like the entire like core of the show is basically the two main characters who are also the 2 main writers, and they spend a lot of time just having conversations with each other that they record, and a lot of those conversations make it into the episodes, which gives, for a show that is very like not like trying to feel particularly grounded, it gives the conversational flow and the way the characters talk to each other a real authenticity to it. That doesn't you don't get in a lot of sitcoms or even animated sitcoms.
Yeah, there are even a couple episodes where that feels particularly clear, and not in a way that it's like structureless, but in a way that a lot of the dialogue feels particularly realistic. Like, feels very much like, oh, this situation is insane, and your 2 characters, even though they're wacky cartoons, are as freaked out and confused as you are, and expressing it in, like, I think a very, very understandable, related way. Ooh, and also, I've been waiting to confirm this forever. Now that we're talking about it, I can finally say, because I could recognize from even just the voices, the production company that makes this are some of the same people that made the incredible Bushworld Adventures episode of Rick and Morty. So they have that DNA, and I love that, because that episode, I think, was the last episode of Rick and Morty I watched, and I was like, oh, well, don't need more of this, because it's gone as far as it can. So, watch it. It's good. Kyle, your turn.
Mine is, I'm going to recommend, so I am recommending the manga, but you are oh my god, I've started saying manga. The weebness has taken over. I didn't do that
What, as opposed to manga?
Either. Yeah, I used to say manga, and then at some point I started saying manga, which is correct, but when I was a kid, people who said manga, that's how you knew they were their souls had drifted too far.
But we're all adults now.
Sphere.
I remember, like, I was having dinner with somebody, and we were using Japanese breadcrumbs. And I said, oh, could you grab the panko? And she's like, oh, is that your passive-aggressive way of correcting my American usage of panko? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we all say things different ways. We all have different degrees of weeb. I love you just the same. So tell me more about your manga.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't like... if you'd rather just watch the anime, the whole first season is out, and I think there's a movie either out or coming soon that you can also watch, which covers a lot of the later of the first arc. But anyway, I'm recommending a manga that is actually incredibly popular called Dandadan. Have you heard anything about Dandadan?
I've definitely heard that name, and that is all I know about it.
And it occurs, I don't know why it's called Dandadan. I don't know what that means. It's not like, I don't know if that's like a Japanese word or if it's supposed to be like a play on the main character's names. I have no idea, actually. What I do know is it's pretty good and pretty weird. If you like, well, I was going to say, if you like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it is tonally very different, but it is similar in the sense that it involves characters getting into situations that are ridiculously bizarre and then being like, this incredibly ridiculous circumstance we are in, we are going to play completely straight now that we're trapped in it. So the premise of Dandadan is you have these two high school kids. Please be high schoolers and not middle schoolers. It's one of those things where
by drawing attention to it at all, you've put us in that world, Kyle. Here we are, mired in the muck.
I'm pretty sure they're high schoolers. Fingers crossed.
High degree of confidence that this isn't some sort of felony wish fulfillment.
Well, it does get very pervy very quickly, which is part of the whole vibe. But anyway, you have two kids, one of whom, so you have this fairly popular hot sort of alt girl who's, she's not like goth, but I feel like if she were in America, she would be goth. Like, she's Japanese, so she's really just sort of like feisty. But if she were American, she would definitely get her clothes at Hot Topic and wear like a spiked bracelet. So she's doing her thing, and I think the very first scene of the manga is her like roundhouse kicking a guy, a fuckboy she's been dating who has kind of been stringing her along. So she just roundhouse kicks him in the face and then goes on. So I was hooked from there. And then there's also this incredibly nerdy introverted boy. And her thing is that she was raised by her aunt, who is like the definition of a MILF, in that she keeps talking about herself like she's an old lady, but she's drawn like she's, baddie. She was raised by her aunt, who in addition to being baddie is also like a psychic, a paranormal like expert and investigator. So she believes in ghosts and shit and spirits and stuff like that. And she runs into this boy, and I don't remember how they end up crossing paths, but they sort of immediately they have some kind of connection. They enjoy talking with each other. And she tells him all about like spirits and ghosts and stuff. And he's like, that's ridiculous. There's no such thing as spirits and ghosts. Everybody knows all of that is really aliens and cryptids. And so they get into this big argument. Like, which is it? Is it ghosts or is it aliens? It can only be one. But, and then the big joke that the whole rest of the manga revolves around is it's both. It's definitely both. This is a world in which not only are both ghosts and aliens real, but ghosts and aliens are sort of fighting each other for control of the planet. As in, like, aliens keep trying to invade Earth and take it over, and Earth's natural immune response to that is to be like, well, yeah, sure, you might be capable, your advanced technology may be a match for humans, but it isn't a match for, like, Bigfoot and the Loch Ness fucking monster and that creepy haunted house girl from The Ring. And so these two high schoolers get embroiled in the middle of that like conflict, and in the course of it awaken various superpowers. So the boy gets possessed by like an evil grandma who again, that's where the fun bizarreness comes in. So he gets possessed by like an evil old lady spirit, which inexplicably gives him the ability to dash around at super speeds, although his skin warps and transforms into like a hybrid boy old lady vibe. So he has this crazy long stringy gray hair, but also super speed. And then the girl realizes she has ESP and she can telekinetically move things with her mind. And so they get into all of these fights with various aliens and things like that. subsequently keep recruiting other high schoolers. So basically, the plot of each like arc is, some new person in our like extended friend group is having some sort of trouble to do with some kind of paranormal entity. We solve the mystery of the entity, but then inevitably that kid walks away from interacting with that entity with some kind of new superpower and joins our team of paranormal investigator, ghostbuster, alien fighters. And it's pretty rad.
Like that very last part you said really, really makes me think of JoJo, where it's like,
yeah,
not only do you have an encounter with a stand, but now you're a goddamn stand user.
Yeah, exactly. And the way in which, the powers get like, there are a lot of interesting, cool things about it. One in which is like the ghosts are all kind of silly, but you eventually get into like their deep backstories, and because you don't get to be like a cursed ghost without having something kind of like tragic,
sure,
that happened to you. So the connection between the people and the ghosts ends up, in classic anime fashion, turns out to be kind of like a tearjerker usually. And you realize the ghost was trying to protect you the whole time, even though the only way it knew how to protect you was by haunting you and cursing you.
Of course.
And then also you get all these fun characters. It's really a love letter to people with hyperfixations. Like you have this kid who is incredibly fat and annoying and sort of unpopular and obnoxious. And even in the manga, like they pull no punches with just sort of how like unlikable and narcissistic and obnoxious he is. But he is obsessed with his little robot figurines, his Gundams and his Evas and stuff, and he spends all his free time reading about them and constructing them and painting them and looking up diagrams of them online. So when it just so happens that Earth gets attacked by a giant kaiju, and he finds, and the good guys find access to this weird alien metal, where it's like, well, this alien metal can actually basically create any kind of mechanical construct you want out of sheer willpower, but you have to have a really clear idea of the internal mechanisms and workings of how it goes in order to do it. And none of us are really, mechanical engineers that way. The fat kid goes, oh, this is my time to shine, and immediately builds the most rad Gundam, like 800-foot tall Gundam imaginable, just out of sheer willpower and nerdiness. And that's sort of the stuff that I come to enjoy out of it. Also, again, the bizarreness. So, like, the thing that made me realize I was going to recommend this is I was in I'd put it down for a while. I really liked it, but I was, I didn't want to get to the end of it. So I put it down while, to give the next arc some breathing room. And when I picked it back up, I was immediately treated to a scene where all of the main characters on a plane, and the plane is attacked by a cryptid typhoon. So this is a haunted typhoon that is actually sentient and is alive and is attacking the plane by sucking up sharks out of the ocean that then freeze, and it shoots them at the plane.
Ice sharks?
Yeah, so they're getting attacked by ice sharks, and they're like, well, shit, we kind of got to get where we're going on this plane, so our only recourse is to figure out how to fight this typhoon that's shooting ice sharks at us. And their logic is like, does anyone here know how typhoons work? And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a combination of cold and hot weather patterns. Well, maybe if we use the own ice sharks against it, we can cool the superheated water and change the pressure differential and defeat the typhoon. And I was like, this is great. Nick has to hear about this.
Just the mention of ice sharks, I'm imagining it and I love it. That's you could have started with that and I'd be like, okay, say no more. But here we are.
So one, not even really a caveat so much as like you're
here it comes.
Yeah, you would roll
is the anime stuff.
It is, yes, exactly. It is pretty infamous for, in the very first episode, the main female character gets abducted by aliens, and the way that is depicted is She doesn't actually get sexually assaulted, but it is very clear that if the scene went on 5 more seconds before she escaped, it was going to be a very invasive, like, alien probing situation with the, with the teenage girl in her mini skirt. So, that kind of stuff keeps happening throughout the thing. And everybody who reads it is like, why? This manga is so good without any of, like, who is this part for? And of course the answer is probably the writer and his secret fetishes that drive everything that he does in life. But, it doesn't spoil the vibe. If anything, I think it's usually used in a way that reinforces just how creepy the bad guys are. But, I can't recommend it without giving everybody, I guess, that, trigger warning.
I can't remember if it was like The Onion or Hard Drive. One of the big parody sites years ago had an article that was like, anime only 80% caveats this time.
Yes. One of my favorite bits from College Humor is this: the CEO of Tumblr actually looks on Tumblr, and one of the lines I remember from it is, well, I don't see what the octopus is getting out of any of this, and frankly, the girl doesn't seem to be enjoying it much either.
And it's like, I don't know, I kind of lean towards not even trying to give disclaimers anymore, because I'm like, if you watch anime, you know that there's fucking weird stuff that is, like, not okay, and especially, like, I was going to say not okay in the U.S., not for legal reasons, which are true, but just culturally. It's like things that they take for granted over there, hey, we're all equals or whatever, are fucking weird. And, like, even, I just, like, I think of, like, whenever things are, like, hypersexualized is obviously a real problem. But then I think about how, like, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that show is just about these hunks who are, all gorgeous, and they're in these incredible stylish poses, but they're not often explicitly sexualized. And I'm talking about, I haven't read the manga, but in the anime, there's an episode where they pick up, what appears to be like like some sort of like 12-year-old moppet girl, like a newsy girl or something. And then within 15 minutes, you're seeing a shower scene of her. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, this is about giant beefy guys, and the second there's any sort of female in it, nonetheless incredibly age inappropriate, you're like, well, we got to put her in a compromising position, right? It's just, yes. I don't get it. But it is so prevalent that I think really, you almost like have to take it for granted if you're not going to be upset by any of this stuff.
I agree with that, and with you in particular, I think that's fair, and that's normally how I would pitch it. But the weird thing is, despite that, it is just getting increasingly mainstream. Like my nephews, have started looking to me for anime recommendations, and when I'm trying to figure out how to, like, give them recommendations and what to talk to them about, I suddenly, for the first time, I have to think about my sister-in-law, seeing this scene from Dan to Dan and being like, why on earth are you watching this? Well, Uncle Kyle said it was cool. And it's like, oh God, it's like, I do not, I just don't want that.
Well, you're reminding me, Kyle, this is, someone I work with. This is just a complete secondhand anecdote. I'm going to give you the short version. So about how he was doing some work on a barn, and so he was up in the rafters working on stuff, and he's all sweaty and grunting and doing hard work, and the whole time he's doing this, he has his phone below playing I can't remember if it was like an audio book of some sort of history book or anthropology or something like that, and then it gets to a chapter, and I think it was describing the Romans, but very much about, like, a real strong commitment to pedophilia and some real graphic descriptions, which he is listening to educationally. But of course, this is when someone accidentally gets an address wrong and comes into the barn not knowing what's happening,
God damn it.
only to see a grunting, sweaty man descend from the rafters. And also, we were talking about it and acknowledging, like, he just said nothing about what was playing, because the worst thing you could do is be like, don't mind the pedophile talk behind me. I'm a normal human. And so it's just, but I was saying that to, like, say that, God, everything's got, well, not everything, but, like, these weird things happen, and it's so embarrassing, and I don't think, like, it's an indictment of character, but it's, and even thinking about it, I know I talked about this a couple of times, but, some friend of a friend needed a place to stay and was at my place, and I was like, this is, I'm a normal, nice guy. Oh, that giant book of comic art? No, I'm going to put that away right now, because that is incredibly pornographic and something I just take for granted that I shouldn't have out when a stranger that is just a regular person in society has it. This is why I recommend Smiling Friends. We're all little twisted freaks around here.
Yes. And if you're right, if you're a regular consumer of anime and manga, you will like Dandadan, and you will, all that other stuff will roll right off you. But just letting you know. I left out another good part that you'll like, which is at one point they have to perform, like, an exorcism, and it turns out the best exorcists in town are, like, a speed metal scream band. So they don't like do rituals. They come and they set up their amps and they just play they just rip it, and that drives the evil spirits away.
I can see that. That's, if they've been around for however long, being ghosts as they are, they're not ready for that hot shit, They're culturally way behind. No, they got to get thrashed out of there. I support that also. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's just that the level, like, if you really want to express a level of energy sufficient to repulse an evil spirit, you gotta shred.
Yeah. Well, I also, like, I just think of, like, the Mad Max Fury Road, where they have, I believe the character's official name is just the Doof.
Yes, the Doof Warrior, I think.
Doof Warrior, yes, the guitar playing guy. And some people, like, I think a lot of people, especially when it came out, being like, well, this movie's crazy, but that was particularly silly, right? Like, what's that guy doing there? And it's like, oh, I'm sorry that not only do you not appreciate the practical application of having somebody motivating the troops, but it's fucking awesome, right? Like, that's what are you talking about? Man. He shouldn't be there, you asshole. That's incredible.
Do you complain about the shirtless sax player in The Lost Boys too? What is wrong with you?
I don't actually feel bad, but I felt like a pang of embarrassment on behalf. So that guy's name, I think, is like Tim Capello, and he was he's a real serious musician, has a storied career, and I think spent a lot of time, with huge artists as their saxophonist, like Bruce Springsteen, and that's really the one that comes off the all that stuff. And for a friend's birthday once, I got a cameo of him, and I was like, specifically, my friend and I grew up with you. We love this in, Lost Boys. And so he does a cameo, and it's great. It's perfect. And he does say a little bit, though. He's like, oh, thank you for appreciating me in The Lost Boys, something I was in for about 30 seconds 40 years ago. Since then, here are some of the other things I worked on. And I'm like, oh, Tim, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I loved you in the wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was hearing this funny story about you have definitely seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was watching a TikTok with the guy who actually sings Man of Constant Sorrow. I think I knew that George Clooney wasn't the actual singer in that song, but I had never seen what the real guy looks like. And apparently the original plan was he was just a studio musician, and the plan was like George Clooney was going to sing the song and he was going to be the backup vocals and music to it. So he showed up really excited to do a scene with sing alongside George Clooney and get paid like $500 or whatever. And they get through a couple of takes, and George Clooney is like, man, I'm the opposite of killing this. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm an actor, not a singer. This guy's a much better singer than me. How about you just sing the fucking song and I'll just act and it'll work out fine between the two of us. And he says, I felt pretty disappointed at the time because I lost my chance to, work with George Clooney. He wasn't like being an asshole about it, but it was just sad because I would have enjoyed getting to work with him. What I didn't realize is that now, as the actual lead vocals of the song,
yes,
I get all the royalties every fucking time that plays. So now, instead of getting paid $500, George Clooney basically bought me a house and paid off my kids' college. So I guess that all worked out pretty well for me.
Yeah, I just coincidentally I saw like a random clip today of. Do you know who Eazy-E is?
Rings a bell.
Old school gangsta rapper. Like,
yeah.
As far as anyone uses the term OG, he is like literally an OG. But the clip I was watching was him on the Arsenio Hall show, explaining how like Dr. Dre had got his big record deal and was blowing up, and Eazy-E was like, well, the thing is, when he worked with me, I signed him as an exclusive producer and an exclusive artist, and so he wanted to get away from the label, went and made his own deal. Baby, you're my exclusive artist on that deal. I'm getting paid for you to work for another label. Just little things like that really make the entertainment industry shine. Now I don't know what to say.
I think that was a good, as usual, the part that started right after we finished talking about the episode was the best part of the episode. And we should just accept that that's our fate and leave it there.
Yeah. Hey, and you know what? You guys can pay for it. Patreon.com/TBBTT to hear about Kyle's soup betrayals.
I will say, even though we picked it totally, I love the way you, and I just love that it TBBTT. I just love the way that rolls. It's like you really hit it too.
Kyle, I'm glad you said so, because I feel good about it also. It's a shame that it's such like a little silly thing that we're doing, because boy, yeah. Hey, thank you. TBBTT. Bye.